All right, Bob. First, well, guess who just walked in on me unexpectedly? So we decided to throw him in the chair, doing the episodes we've been doing the last few days. And so I got Reggie Sr. gonna come and give us a few gems, tell us a few of his war stories while he was working in Compton and growing up in Watts. And so, Reggie Sr., welcome back to the platform. Mm-hmm. I guess John can say that, right? John platform.
We always get a lot of comments on people that want to hear more stories from you based off of some of the ones you gave us in the previous interview that you did with us.
Well, just kind of walk into this, so you guys are going to have to kind of just lead me in. Reggie has a lot of ideas or knowledge about some of my adventures.
Right.
So he can like throw out a topic or something.
Okay. We'll just throw some stuff off the top of the head. I don't want to do a roll call on no gang members from him, and his close friends. I don't want to do a roll call on because nobody care about no cops no more because I don't know why you young kids don't respect your local police heroes. But so I'll throw a couple of people that you haven't spoke on yet because he got an episode up with us already about Gangster and Turtle from Santana and Mob James. And so let me try to think of somebody else. You had talked about a guy named LB from the Imperial Courts housing projects. The PJ Crips.
Oh, yeah, that's AB.
AB. You can talk about him a little bit.
Well, that's Anthony Blaylock, known as AB. He was probably one of the originators of the PJ Crips out of Imperial Courts. I don't remember the year back, but back in the day, I basically dealt with AB a lot before they became notorious in terms of being PJ Crips. It was right at the inception of all this blood Crip stuff. And AB was a baseball player. And he played for my baseball team, and he was a pretty good player. I always had that respect from those guys, the ones that grew up to be members of PJ Crips or just outright thugs, to tell you the truth, that was running around there. But I had gained a lot of respect from them because I was their coach. At that time, you didn't have year-round basketball or something. You had seasonal sports over there in the projects. And it was basically football, flag football, baseball, and basketball were the main sports at that time. And most of these guys that subsequently became PJ Crips, they all were athletes. They all played a lot and participated a lot. And at that time, all the gang activity hadn't kicked up yet. And we were able to travel within the community. Like Imperial Courts, we would go over to Nicholson Gardens and play the Nicholson Gardens guys at their gyms or at their ball field. Jordan down the same way. You could travel among them. And so we didn't have any of that problem. It just started kicking up, I think, maybe in the early 80s over in that area where all of a sudden those guys couldn't get along with each other. And then again, it wasn't as safe to play. But AB, as I said, was an easygoing guy. Like, he wasn't a talker. He wasn't outright thuggish in his demeanor or anything. He was kind of like a little cerebral, a little smart guy in a sense. But he had a lot of respect and a lot of followers. But I think I told a story one time about where AB really came, in a sense, not really to my aid. He came to Tookie Williams' aid. Everybody knew Tookie at the time, and he had started hanging over in the project with the PJs and all. And he had gotten into an incident with my father because we were all raised. My family was basically raised in Imperial Courts. This was before Reggie was even born. And my dad used to, he was like the community guy that everybody kind of knew, but my dad used to do his little drinking. He worked 2 jobs, raised 17 kids, worked the post office and did odd jobs in the evening. But he would drink that, we used to call it pluck. He loved that wine. And he would drink it. And when he would drink it, he would kind of move around the projects. And he liked golf. And he would go on the gym field and play golf and do all that kind of stuff. So the guys knew him. Yeah. AB and all of them, they knew him as Mr. Wright. But one day, Tookie was over there and hanging out, with they showing their little muscles and stuff, wearing those shirts, him and Baby Boy and all them. It wasn't uncommon for them to be there. But I only lived right down the street from the park. And this particular evening, a guy came, I was want to mention, my daddy would be somewhat annoying when he would be drinking and stuff, and he would see kids or guys like that, and he would say stuff rambling like to them, like a person that's under the influence would do. And he used to always talk about, look up at the sky, and quite annoying. Tookie didn't know anything about it. The other kids and teenagers and stuff, they knew about it. Yeah. So the liquor store was right, almost adjacent to the projects or to the gym field and stuff. So my daddy would go there to get his little taste for the evening. I guess apparently Tookie and them were up, and AB were up at the liquor store. Mm-hmm. And my daddy, I guess, came out and went through his routine of, look up. And I guess that annoyed Tookie, and then probably didn't know it. So he punched my dad real hard and knocked him almost out. Mm-hmm. And it didn't take but a few minutes for some of the people that were around there to know about it, ran to my house. I remember a couple of kids that had played for me and says, hey, Reggie, this guy just punched your daddy and knocked him down. They calling the ambulance for your daddy up by the liquor store. Mm-hmm. At that time, I wasn't the police yet, but I had me a little 38. And I grabbed my little 38, and me and a friend of mine, Frank Taplin, was there with me at my house, and we took off. I was going to find this fella. I don't care who he was, Tookie or whomever. And, I thank God that it didn't happen, but, I was going to do something bad to the fella if he didn't get me first. But I was looking for him. But the word got out. After I left the house, I started heading up to the gym field because I figured that's where they were going after they left the liquor store. And one of the guys saw me, and apparently I guess they ran to tell AB that I was coming and I was looking for the guy that had punched my father. Yeah. I was looking for him, and that I had a gun. Well, AB jumped up and he ran toward me when he saw me approaching the gym field and stopped me and go, hey, Coach. They always call me Coach. Hey, Coach. Yeah. Hey, man, I know Tookie, he hit your daddy and stuff, but he didn't know who he was, and I got this. I said, no, man, I got this, And he said, please, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm going to make him apologize to you and your father. Mm-hmm. So I kind of backed down a little, and to see what AB was doing. Sure enough, Tookie came up to me, Williams, not really knowing me, and just said, hey, man, I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry. I really didn't know your father, and I didn't know what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And he says, but I'm really sorry. And he came up to me and he went to shake my hand, and I hesitated, but I put it out, and he put $100 bill in my hand. And he says, hey, man, if your dad needs something, hey, man, just let me know if he need any more or something. I said, oh, this is supposed to be his hospital bill or something, And he said, no, just, man, I'm sorry, So I kind of cooled down, backed off a little bit, and then went and saw about my father. But I just brought that up to say the kind of dude AB was. I mean, he could have backed off and let me go over there, do what I do, or Tookie do whatever he was going to do to me or whatever. Yeah. But he was that kind of guy. And unfortunately, he still was a little caught up in the business in terms of being a gangsterist, and he was killed by LA. I don't know if it's sheriff. I think it was Linwood Sheriffs or something, because it was a Church's Chicken right up the street from the project, and he had allegedly, well, not allegedly, I guess he had robbed Church's Chicken. They went in pursuit of him, and it was someone else with him. I don't recall, but they ended up shooting and killing AB not far from the project as they were heading away from the shooting scene. So that I felt kind of bad about that, losing him. But Tony Bogart kind of took over PJ's Tony. And I didn't know too much. I knew him as a youngster, but I didn't know too much about him until I started working for the police department. But that's Anthony Blaylock, he was saying.
So in a previous episode, Reggie Sr., you talked about
Kidnapping.
some different kidnappings of some people in the city of Compton. I know of another incident that you was involved in where it was actually a guy from Watts whose brother got killed in Compton, where his brother was from Watts, Great Street, Watts, the area that I grew up in. Not grew up. I went to elementary school till the first grade in. But the area that I grew up in, these guys came to Compton and caused a little bit of chaos. Would you mind speaking on those story?
No, they caused a whole lot of chaos. He's saying a little bit of chaos, but it was on. This was an incident, as he said, it's a shot caller from Grape Street. People may know him. If I get to talking about it, they'll know who he is, but I knew him since he was a baby, and personally, he has a lot of respect for me, and I do for him as well to a degree. But anyway, this person's brother was killed at Alondra and Long Beach Boulevard at a gas station. I think he was getting some air, but he had at the time what was quite popular to have, and he had to have a little money to have them. They call them Daytons. These are special rims.
Killer Daytons.
Well, that was what they started naming them because people started getting killed behind those Daytons, getting jacked and stuff. And in this case, that was exactly what happened. Apparently, this person's brother is from Grape Street, but he was over, because it's a Crip area, over in Alondra and Long Beach, which is South Side. And, but I guess this particular guy who I ended up arresting, he was trying to be a wannabe. Matter of fact, he was a Asian, Hawaiian, Samoan or something, he Samoan. And he wanted to be part of the Southside group, so he kind of did like an initiation thing where he felt as though he was going to jack this dude for the date, not knowing who he was or how connected he was, and shot and killed him and jacked the car, So once that happened, this shot caller, who was well connected throughout all sets, and shot caller and Jordan Downs with Grape Street, as soon as they found that out and found out that it was somebody from Southside who had shot his brother, that happened early in the evening, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. All of a sudden, we started getting shootings all over Southside. 3 or 4 different shootings. And that was them grabbing people, kidnapping people, shooting them, or whatever, to get information of who was responsible in Southside for the killing. So after we worked about a couple of homicides and all that, I was working real close, me and the investigator, who was the investigator. I was like the gang's street cop sergeant, but the investigator was my buddy who passed on, rest in peace. Marvin Branscombe was the investigator. So naturally, we jumped on this case right quick because we knew we had to solve it and get this done, or we were going to have more shootings than we had that night in Southside. But actually, they got more information than me or Marvin got, because they were, like we said, contacting and grabbing up Southside people. And matter of fact, his mother was quite involved in it. I love her to the day. She was quite involved. And she kept feeding me the information that the shot caller and his people and his other brother and them were getting from these Southside people. And it led us to this particular Samoan guy, who wasn't, but I think he was a juvenile, 16, 17, a big dude though, big Samoan dude. And I don't mean fat or nothing, I mean a kid about 6'1", 6 something, weight and muscular. But he's the one that did the jacking. And it took us about 2 or 3 days after they were doing their investigating. Matter of fact, they did what you call the legwork on finding out who the suspect was. So I got a picture of him, did a photo lineup, and we had a witness. We had somebody who saw the jack go down, and they identified.
Because it was at a gas station.
Yeah, he was getting air in the
getting air in his tire.
in the tire. But anyway, found out who the suspect was, and come to find out the motive was he was trying to connect with Southside. But he lived. Found out he lived over in Southgate. So I knew he was a suspect because I was present with Marvin Branscombe when we showed the lineup. But and I knew he lived in Southgate. We were preparing to do an arrest warrant, and we were going to hit the house the next morning or something. We were going to hit the house on that, but I knew who his suspect was. I was on my way that evening to Los Padrinos with an unrelated juvenile suspect who was being booked at Los Padrinos. But me with my adventuresome self, I took the guy and dropped him off at Los Padrinos, the suspect.
For those of y'all don't know, that's LP.
Yeah, it's juvenile hall. It's since closed now. We're right over in Southgate area, over there. I'm coming back to head to the station, but I said, let me pass by this house just to kind of take a look at it. It's apartments, really apartments. And knowing we were going to hit it the next morning, I passed by the house, and I'm in a plain car, and all that. As I drive by, lo and behold, who's walking toward the apartment? The suspect, by himself, out walking. Now, I'm by myself. I'm out of Compton, but, I don't have the tools that's supposed to possess safety. I don't have them. I didn't have them. I have them now. Yeah. But I said, forget this. Why come here in the morning looking for him and he may not be home? There he is. Yeah. So I pull up and I said, hell, I'm getting him. So I went to get out the car, but he knew me and he spotted me before I can get out. I had called for backup. I wasn't that dumb. Right. And I told them to locate Southgate PD and let them know I'm pursuing a murder suspect at this location. Yep. So I kind of thought I can ease my way out the car and get him before he goes inside. Yeah. But all of a sudden he realized it was me, even though I was plain clothes and all, and he boogied for the house, to apartment. He ran. And my dumb butt, I ran right in the house, right behind him. And once I entered the house, it was like Samoans, about 3 or 4 of them in the living room. I mean, OGs, women, and everything. And he got head, tail, and here my little butt running in there with a gun out, talking about nobody, and I'm out. He heads to the back, to one of the bedrooms. And by that time, as I started going to the bedroom, I could see Southgate PD hitting the door as well. Okay. They were there to back me up. So I went all the way in the back, and he grabbed over to his mother, or sister, whoever was older, and started holding her. Don't let him take me, mama. Don't let him take me. Don't let him take me. So here I am. Do I grab this kid and start fighting him with his mama? Southgate is coming in the door, don't know what the heck happened. Yeah. So I just put my gun and went right quick and say, hey, I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I'm just trying. I got to take him. I got to talk to him. I got to talk to him. Let him go. By that time, more policemen start coming in. So mama say, go with him. Go with him. And she walked us out, and I then handcuffed him and set him in my car. Yeah. And that's how I made the arrest. Now, that kind of upset my watch commander and stuff because, hey, fool, why are you out there chasing suspects?
On your own.
In Southgate. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, hey, that's just the story. I ended up taking the kid, admonished him and all. He told the whole story. He just, okay, because I told him, he might be in a little trouble because the group that's looking for him and whose brother he shot. And he just said, man, I'll tell you everything. And he ended up confessing to the whole murder charge. And that worked out. But I don't condone what his brothers and them did and his mom and them to get the information, but I credit them for that. And he subsequently got convicted on that homicide. That was an interesting case.
Yeah. Another person I'd like to bring up, since we did the blue side of the housing projects, a guy that I know you're real familiar with, Manpower from the Nickerson Gardens. which you allude to, we all know as the bunny hunters. You got any stories or anything you
Well,
can tell
I have
us about?
several stories about Manpower. Matter of fact, I talked to him not too long ago. He's out and about. It was a crazy story. Me and his mother grew up together, and his father, Frank McGowan, was one of my best friends, and that was Manpower's name is Edwin McGowan. But anyway, one of the real stories that come up to me about Manpower was Manpower was connected in terms of bounty hunters, and all that. But he also hustled a little bit, selling a little dope. And, I was working Compton PD at the time, and his sister, because I knew the whole family. It was Frank's sisters, and Manpower was Frank's son, and all that. But his sister, Bobby, lived in Compton, her and her husband. And apparently, they had kind of kept some of the money. I'm just trying to be diplomatic about what I'm talking about, because it's old news, But the money, some of the money from the sales of cocaine was kept at Bobby's house. And the locals around there, the little dudes that hung around there, and it's kind of escaped me now. It was a little small group, but they called themselves, they weren't Santana Block, they were Blood, but I can't recall the little group that lived over in that area. It was right off of Sloan in the Elm Lanes. That little group of dudes, they were breaking into houses over near their home. And I guess, I don't know, I don't recall, I shouldn't say I don't know, but they probably knew that was a dope house in a sense, or not necessarily, because they didn't sell no dope out of the house. They just kept the money there.
Gotcha.
But they broke into the house, about 3 of them. They broke into the house and got to searching, I guess, for dope or whatever.
Right.
But they hit the jackpot. Under the mattress inside the house was all the money, cash money, that was kept there. And I mean, it was quite a bit of money. And the brothers took the money. They probably took whatever else in the house, TVs or whatever. Mm-hmm. But they took the money, a large amount of money. And what the guys started doing with the money, the cash money, they were going out buying cars, little lowrider cars, like, from other guys that had them. They were like buying cars left and right. So it took Edwin, Manpower, it took him a little while, not very long, to find out who were the guys
Held out.
that burglarized the house, took the money, and was out here buying these cars. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put this guy's name out right now because he's still pretty close with him.
Okay.
But I'll just say a connected person from the Bloods. Mm-hmm. He had heard about it and knew who the players were. So Manpower had contacted my guy, and he kind of told him who the players were. And what they were doing, they were going around, Manpower and his little henchmen, they were going around Compton, more or less kidnapping the guys that had broke into the house and taking the cars from them. Mm-hmm. So we started getting radio calls of carjacks, and stuff from at least 2 victims. And come to find out, 2 of the victims were 2 of the guys that had broken the house and had bought the car. Mm-hmm. And they got jacked and pistol whooped and all kind of stuff. Yeah. A third one also was kidnapped, and he was taken to Nicholson Garden by Manpower and them. They took him over there to find out where was the rest of the money. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, myself and my partner at the time was Bobby Baker, who was a narcotic guy. He really wasn't a gang guy. We were just happened to be riding around together that day. And so we started investigating it. And so we started getting the information of what happened, what the motive was for why they were jacking these cars and beating these guys up, that they were the suspects who had broken into Bobby's house. Well, anyway, me and Bobby was riding around because we were still getting calls of people getting kidnapped, because it was about 4 or 5 guys involved. And they had gotten 2 of them that they dealt with early. But this third one, the call came out and said, a carjack, I think it was in Front Hood somewhere, and that the victim was taken from the vehicle at gunpoint and put into another vehicle. And I kind of put 2 and 2 together and knew it was Manpower involved. Well, later on that evening, as we circling around and found out that this guy was kidnapped, I'm still, but basically, we checking all the areas for any more victims, or hoping we can catch the guys.
Was
who
this
were
all
after.
the same night that all
Yeah,
this kidnapping?
this is all same evening.
Okay.
I mean, it
Gotcha.
started about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Excuse me, lasted in the evening of one thing leading to another. You know, it was several incidents.
Yeah.
But later that evening, about 6 o'clock or 6:30, we were over in the area of Compton and Santa Fe, just kind of checking around, and we see this long Cadillac go by. And Bobby looked into the Cadillac. He was driving, I was passing, and he said, "Hey, Reg, isn't that my man?" You know, I know who, but I'm not going to put his name out like that. But ain't that isn't that him in that car? And I said, "Yeah," and that looked like Renee. Not Renee. Renee is Manpower's brother. That's for another day.
Okay.
But anyway, I said, "No, that's Manpower." I said, and now that's our suspect. We're not sure, just hearing it.
Right.
So we pulled the car over, and there's 4 dudes in the car. I mean, one who was driving, that brother was every bit of 6'4", 6'5", 220, 30 pounds, fresh out of the pen, you know, buffed, and heck, he was the driver. Manpower was the front passenger. My man was in the back seat, because I guess he was pointing out the locations to these suspects.
Yeah.
He's in the back seat, and there's another dude in the back seat.
Okay.
Also, I don't know who. But when we pulled the car over, you know, I'm knowing everybody. They knowing me. As soon as me and Bobby pulled them over, we got them all out the car. You know, naturally pat them down, make sure everything was safe. Got all 4 of them out the car, put them on the car. You big guy wanted to act a fool. You know, he was about to get stupid. And then that's when Manpower told him, "Hey, that's my uncle. That's my uncle. You know, be cool, be cool, be cool," you know. So I got him on the car. So I went up to Manpower and I had him. I said, "Man, what the hell y'all doing?" I said, "Now I know what's going on. I know about what was taken out of Bobby's house. And I know these cats done bought these cars. I know what's going on.
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned about, man, is one missing. And apparently you or your cohorts or somebody know where this guy is. And I don't want him to come up dead.
Yeah.
It's on you to make certain I find out something where this cat is or what." He said, "I'm going to give you that right now." I said, "But right now we ain't finished investigating it. So if I find out you deep into something, I'm going to have to come get you." He said, "Oh, I know, but it's cool, you know." So I let him go. We checked him out. I let him go because I was hoping he'll do just what he did. Apparently they got back to the project somewhere in Nicholson Garden and they released the dude. Matter of fact, I think they took him by near Martin Luther King Hospital was there then, and dropped him off at Martin Luther King Hospital, you know, all beat up and whatever. And they split. And so, you know, from there, I got a hold of the guy and he told me how they had kidnapped him and because of the car. And he validated the story I heard. We later on got a warrant from him.
For those of you that have been around Bomb First for a while, y'all done heard the person involved in the story. And it wasn't Mob James.
No.
So y'all don't start those rumors. But for those long-time listeners and people that knows the story, Reggie don't know that I spoke on it, but I've told the story before in my own way for a reasoning for another shooting that happened in L.A., in Compton, and that caused Rock Chisholm to end up going to prison because of a shooting they done when the gun jam. Is all the hints and all we're going to talk about on this story remaining. So there's another story that I know you're real familiar with of a guy that we talk about a lot over here on Bomb First. And I know you have a great relationship and a great respect for him and his sister. But the guy they killed, and you arrested the guy that killed Marcus Nunn's brother, China Doll, and Cynthia Nunn's brother. If you don't mind telling us on the arrest and the information of what happened to Smooth.
Yeah, Ricky Smooth. All right, what Reggie is talking about is this person that got killed. Ricky, his last name is escaping me right now, but I know it as good as I know his last name.
Johnson?
But, Johnson, there you go. But anyway, Ricky, but they call him Smooth.
Okay.
And that's what he was, a smooth guy. He wasn't no hard gangster, but he thought he was all that and independent, more or less. He called himself Smooth. And they call him Smooth. Well, anyway, Smooth had apparently supposed to have sold China Doll's brother
Bo.
some kind of narcotic, and he owed it. Bo Peep was his nickname, the victim. Rest in peace. But anyway, he got jacked or shot, and Smooth killed him. But, you know, you talking about a respected guy, China Doll, in his family, in the hood, and you gonna kill his brother, and somebody not gonna tell, you know, so it didn't take them long to find out who did it. But he got on the run, because he knew sooner or later something bad was gonna happen to him. I found out where he was hiding out. At the time, we hadn't made the case against him where I could arrest him, you know, but I knew he was involved based on information, street talk, not anything of official. But when I got to him, I remember talking to him straight. I said, "Hey man, you know you did this. It's a matter of time before we're gonna get a warrant and you're gonna be arrested. But you need to get your butt off the street because you know you're not safe." "No, man, no, I ain't." I said, "Man, you need to just come in, tell the story, and then just try to go from there." "Nah, man, they ain't gonna do nothing to me. I ain't worried about them." I said, "Okay, but we're gonna eventually come and get you as soon as I can make this case." So anyway, I let him go. I remember right there on Rosecrans Avenue where he was staying. He left town that night and was gone. We made the case finally. And when we got an arrest warrant for him, I found out he was hiding on a military base or something with one of his relatives in Texas somewhere.
Okay.
We were going to arrest him or what have you if we got the extradition, go through all the changes. But in the interim, they, some kind of way, his ex-boss, well, they kind of found out that homie was hiding out and the police was going to get to him. But some kind of way, they talked him into coming back to LA under some pretense, all is forgiven, I don't know what. They lured him back to LA. And the next thing Compton, I said LA. The next thing I know, we found out he was found dead in Imperial Course, of all places, my old neighborhood, and that he had been shot.
Imperial Course or Nickerson Garden?
No, it was Imperial Course, because I said, no, he can't be in the Imperial Course, you know, right? I know the spot, right? We used to shoot dice, right? In the spot back when I was like about 15 or 16 myself, where they found him. But they were smart enough, even though we subsequently found out he was killed in Compton somewhere, but when they laid the body there to make it look like he got killed, they took some shell casings and put it around his body. So when LAPD responded to that scene of a dead body, they thought it was their case, thought homie was shot right there. So LAPD grabbed the case. But they notified us because they knew we were looking for him. You know, and when I told them the circumstance and the possible motive, the motive for the killing and all, he couldn't believe it. We kind of let LAPD deal with it. But later on, after something happened with the riots, our police officer got killed. And we were investigating our two homicides, and we had a task force, and LAPD was involved in, sheriffs and all that. But the 2 investigators loaned out to us to find out who killed our cops had grabbed that case. But I had subsequently somebody said I used that word a lot, but
We had a trivia question of how many times. What's his
but
favorite question?
subsequently is my way of saying later on, or we
Yeah.
later found out. Now I can say later on, but I'm gonna say subsequently.
Yeah.
They don't like it, well, look it up if
Yeah.
they don't understand. But anyhow, we found out, because a lot of my things don't happen like that.
Right.
It kind of builds up. But anyway, they grabbed the case, which was good. We was glad to know that. And I think we were able to not find out exactly who done it, but we know what the motive was and who were involved. But we couldn't make a case because nobody would come forward. That was what's Ricky. But I think to today that if he'd listened to me, maybe gave himself up, they wouldn't have killed him. But I don't know.
But that's the guy I tell y'all that was found with the word BH tatted in the back of his back that make it seem like the bunny hunters did it.
Gotcha.
And or was it PJ?
It was PJ.
Oh, it was PJ. I'm talking about that they tatted.
They tatted some. Like he said, I don't recall because we weren't at the scene and anything.
Yeah.
The LAPD processed the scene. It was months later, or maybe a year later, before we received the case. It might have been a couple of years ago. I
Well, it
don't
was
know.
BH.
Yeah,
I remember I
but-
always laughed that they tatted bunny hunters in the back.
Maybe they didn't know where they were when they dropped him off in
They knew
PJ.
exactly what they were doing.
But it was
that was
definitely
an
PJ.
orchestrated, very well planned out hit by 2 hitmen. In my opinion, you know who the suspects
Oh yeah,
are.
oh yeah. Well, like I said, we knew it when we took the case back, but we just couldn't prove it.
Yeah. Well,
Enough
what
to
actually
file.
happened, you don't remember. I arrested somebody with a gun that was trying to lay it out, but like you said, he wouldn't come and testify to it.
He was scared to death to testify.
And
Yeah,
that's
but
why
that
the
was
case
kinda
never got made. But to the nigga that's out there, be nice, because that case can always be dug up. No statute, no murder.
No statute of limitations, Homer.
At all. But anyway, so yeah, those are a few little episodes that we did with Reggie Sr. We just wanted to get out there. We're gonna call it Reggie Stories on some Compton days. So if y'all ever have any that y'all would like to address with me, hit us up and we'll get Reggie to come drop through and fill us in on a few stories. You got any more stories that you want to talk off offhand, or?
Nah, not at this time, not unless you
Okay.
got to.
So cool. So once again, thanks for coming and hanging out with me and John over here at Bomb First and giving us these few little episodes that you gave us.
All right.
Much respect, Reggie Sr.
Yep.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.